Hey there, welcome and thanks for joining me. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you for subscribing. And don't forget to click on that bell button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and share with friends and family. It'll help my channel. So today I'm going to show you my entryway, the revamp that I did there. First, what I did was basically remove the mirror from my wall, move my chair that I usually have there or that I want to have there, and then I removed everything from my table, and I'm just going to start off by painting my table first. Now I did this within a few days of recording. It kind of took me a while, but I'm super excited of how it ended up turning out once I was all completely done with everything. So once you're done removing everything from your table or whatever you're planning on painting, what I did was I went ahead and I have a plastic tablecloth that I use when I paint or do anything inside, you know, that I need a spray paint or what have you. So I just put that on the floor and I removed all the mirrors from my my entryway table. Here I almost broke that bottom one, so I was super excited that I didn't. But go ahead and add something on the floor so you won't have to worry about the paint dropping on your floor or what have you. And give all your furniture a good wipe down. I usually use vinegar and water or to clean everything off. And I got this paint, it's like a light gray color. I got it at Walmart for like the Oops paint that they have there. So it was only $7 for the entire gallon, which is a great price for this paint. So what I'm doing is basically I'm going to try and attempt to make my own chalk paint. And from the research that I did, basically what you're supposed to do is 2 parts to 1. So in other words, I'm going to do the measurements of 2 cups of paint and then 1 cup of baking soda, which was kind of messy, but the way I did it, but it worked. And once I started painting it, the only thing that I really didn't like about my own chalk paint was that it was really grainy. But I did do some more research and look it up more, and a lot of people said that what they did was actually pour it into their blender and blend it, or used a hand blender to mix it up, which I wish I would have known that before, and I think I would have liked it even more. But it does work, and it did dry, and I only needed 2 coats of it instead of using like a primer and then, you know, your base coat and then 2 coats of your other paint, or, you know, your normal paint. So it does work like chalk paint, and I am going to use it and make it my own chalk paint from now on, because it is good enough for what I'm going to use it for. To do another big piece of furniture with it, no, I don't think I would. Simply because I just didn't like the grainy part. I had to sand it down quite a bit afterwards. But for all my other DIY projects, yes, I do think I am going to start just making my own chalk paint, because I did like the texture of it for those kind of projects. So again, once I did my own chalk paint, I just started painting it, and I gave it 1 coat of paint, and then I allowed it to dry and then gave it my 2nd coat. And the first coat, I really don't, I'm not picky about how I paint it, because it's just my base coat. So I just make sure it has a good coat and just allow it to dry. So go ahead and paint your entire project, whatever you're doing. And since it's chalk paint, it only took about 20 minutes to 30 minutes for this to dry. So it does, like I said, it does work as the chalk paint style. So once you're done with your first one, I don't know if it would maybe be better if you would want to sand it down and then give it the 2nd coat, just so it won't be so grainy if you decide to make your own chalk paint. That might help, but I didn't, because I didn't realize how grainy it was until I started adding my second coat, and which was already too late. So while I was allowing my first coat to dry, as you can see on the side, I ended up painting one of my shelves that I'm going to use in my living room as well. So I painted it the same color with my chalk paint. So I'm kind of doing both things at one time. So that was my second coat, and then I allowed it to dry, and then I went ahead and, like I said, I started sanding it down. And this is when it really, like I said, it took a while for me to get it the way I wanted it, because I didn't want to be able to touch it and it feels so grainy. But I don't know if it's because I put too much chalk or not enough paint. I'm not sure. But like I said, for smaller projects, yes, I did like it. And yes, I am going to continue to use it. But I might tweak it and make my own kind of recipe for it. And if I do that and I like it better, I'll make sure to mention it and give you guys my version of chalk paint if I do, or find a better recipe to make it. So this is now what I'm going to do is my chair that I had in my living room that I told you guys I wanted to paint, that I had in another area. So what I'm doing is just going to remove the seat part of my chair. And I also showed you a picture frame that I purchased at one of my thrift stores for $5. Again, it was the 50% off day. I typically only go to my thrift stores when I know that the 50% off, my furniture at least, so I can get a better deal. So I got that huge picture frame for $2.50, which I'm going to paint as well. Now the chair, I'm painting it with the same chalk paint that I had left over, because I still had like about 2 cups of it, and I just added some of that apple barrel, I think it's pavement color gray, and I'll leave the exact color that I used down below, because I wanted it to be a little bit darker than my actual entryway table. So that's what I did to make my chalk paint a little bit darker. It was just add my apple barrel pavement color. And I used this for my chair, this color of paint, and also for my picture in the background that you see. Now my picture in the background, that frame, I'm not going to use it in my living room. I'm actually going to use it in my kitchen, but I will show you what I'm going to do with that in the next tutorial. So here, I'm going to show you how I covered my seat. Again, at the thrift store, I found this dress, and it was a beautiful dress, and it was, I believe it was $1.50. I'm not sure, I can't remember if it was $1.50 or $2, but it was no more than $2. And I always tend to do this when I know I'm going to reupholster something or I need fabric for something. I typically look at the dresses in the thrift stores, because you can find really beautiful fabric there, and it's less than purchasing a yard of fabric for whatever you want to reupholster. So what I did was put my dress, straightened it out, and then measured out how much fabric I needed, and then just cut that square off of my dress. And with the rest of this dress, I'm not sure if I'm going to use it for my living room, but I know I'm going to save it, and I'm sure I'll use it for something else, another project sooner or later. So basically all I needed was the front part of my dress. So I still have quite a bit of fabric for any other DIYs that I need. So that's a great way of saving and reupholstering, your chairs or sofas or what have you with, fabric from a dress. So here I am just going to go ahead and straighten it out, and then I'm going to put my seat over it and then just start stapling it. Now I left the fabric that I already had on there just in case I want to remove this fabric and maybe use it again in somewhere else. So I just went ahead and left it there. But if you don't want to do that, just remove whatever fabric the seat comes with. And what I typically do is my corners first. I do the first 2 corners from the same side, and then I start doing the opposite corners. And I just fold my fabric a little bit towards the middle of my corner, and then I staple it. And I try not to stretch this fabric too much because it is stretchable and I don't want it to look too stretched out in the front, but of course I want it to be fitted. So once you're done with the first two, then I go around and I do my next two corners. And as I'm doing this, I make sure that my fabric is nice and straight in the front. And again, I don't pull on my fabric too much. But just go around and staple it as much as you like. I tend to over staple, but I'd rather over staple and than for it to fall apart or anything like that. So here I am just kind of making sure there isn't any wrinkles before I start stapling the rest of my edges. So you just grab your fabric and pull it towards the corner, and then you just hold it and staple it. And you do that to all your corners, and then you just continue stapling it. And now, as you can tell, the last row that I'm going to staple, then I do pull a little bit. I tug on my fabric just slightly, not a lot, just enough to make sure that it looks fitted in the front. And like I said, I tend to over staple, but I'd rather do that than not have enough. So once you're done stapling your seat or your fabric to your seat, go ahead and just remove any excess fabric that you have around the backing, and there you have it, a reupholstered chair. Now you just go ahead and screw in your seat to your chair just the same way you unscrewed it. So for my mirror, I'm using my beige color and then this copper color spray paint, as well as some metallic silver. So my first spray paint color that I'm going to use is the beige color, and I just lightly coated it the entire frame of my mirror. Now this is a huge mirror. It's, I want to say, a good 4 feet wide. So I'm not sure if you can tell in my video, but it's a gigantic mirror. So once I spray painted that one coat of my beige, I allowed it to dry, then I spray painted the copper. And the details on my mirror is where I spray painted the copper, as you can tell. I didn't spray paint the entire mirror copper, just the details. So once I allowed that to dry, I went ahead and grabbed my metallic silver spray paint and spray painted it over my copper right in the center. And I just gave it a light coat so you can still see the copper seeping through. And don't be scared to redo your metal project or metal mirrors or any kind of metal, because I think metal is a lot easier to spray paint than plastic or what have you. So I tend to not be as scared to do that. So this is the way my table looks once I've added my sealant on top of it. And there's my chair with my dress fabric. And then here is my mirror. Now you can see I didn't make it entirely beige, but it does look light enough to where I felt comfortable and happy with it to go as a kind of my set right here in my entryway. So this is the way it looks now. So what do you guys think? Not bad, I think, for a few days of DIYs. As you can tell, that's the vase that I spray painted as well. And here's a close-up of my chair, which I absolutely love. It reminds me kind of like a shabby chic style, which I like and tend to kind of gravitate more towards. So I absolutely love it. So I hope you enjoyed my entryway revamp or remodeling. Stay tuned for the rest of my living room. I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Bye.